Hello and welcome everyone. So in the previous video I talked about what my game was all about. I didn't really mention the setting or go much in depth with Red Knight as a character, so I decided that I wanted to explain that as well. With that out of the way, let's take a closer look at the setting for the game. The game is set in the fictional subcontinent Europica. Europica is a long streak of islands bridging Europe and America, hence its name being an amalgamation. Europica has always been looked at as a connection between the two continents, to many's dismay. This has also affected presidential elections, with candidates either standing by the current view of Europica as just filling a gap, while others want to rename Europica and be seen as a more independent nation. But since a subcontinent is pretty damn big, we're mostly focusing on one area named Inconel Islands. Inconel Islands is in the middle of Europica, and is therefore prone to a lot of traffic from America and Europe. Inconel Islands is also considered to be the capital county of the subcontinent. Inconel consists of 5 major islands and 4 minor islands. There are also some other small islands which are all uninhabited. The 5 major islands are Gold Island, Sharp Island, Comet Island, North Light Island and South Light Island. The minor ones are Labor Island, which has a population of 0 as it's only used for work, so people come in the morning and leave in the evening. And then there's the last 3 minor islands that are all connected and serve as a prison. Of all these islands, the game will only be taking place on 2 islands, with the open world being a slice of Comet Island and Sharp Island appearing in the story segments. This is just the general info about Europica, as we have enough lore to make a video about each island on their own, the story of Europica, and Europica's influence on the rest of the world in modern times. So this is just a very surface. It'll give you an idea of where this game is taking place. So that's basically what we wanted to do. But let's actually go in depth with something in this video, shall we? So as mentioned in the previous lore video, Red Knight's name is Joshua Thomas Crimson, Thomas also being his father's first name. Joshua is around the mid-20s and at this point he has been a vigilante for a year or 2. This game won't be a story of his early days and it won't go much into his origin, since we want to give you a proper view of Joshua as Red Knight and not a in the beginning view. Now, he still has a lot to learn, and he's nowhere near being a master at this point in the story, so there's room for expansion in the future. I've also stated that Joshua possesses enhanced reflexes and speed, but now how he got them. It essentially boils down to him taking a special performance enhancing drug for about 2 months, and thereby made the effects permanent. This has downsides though. Much like a lot of drugs, this drug also made his expressions more prominent, specifically his anger. So he gets mad quicker than he normally would, and his rage is also boosted. This can be fatal and useful. So sometimes his rage blinds him, while other times it makes him more determined. It's really a double-edged sword. His rage will also affect gameplay, mainly combat. On top of his enhancements, he uses tech to optimize his skills. This includes him having a heads-up display, using throwing knives, concussion grenades, small explosives, and sometimes even guns. Joshua doesn't actually mind guns that much. He doesn't carry them, but he will sometimes pick up a gun and shoot someone in the leg to apprehend them, for example. But he doesn't kill. That's important about him. He sees killing as a cowardly move and also as the line that divides him from them, the criminals. Everything he does is for the greater good, whether that's stealing from a gang who stole from a bank, or cutting someone's ear off. Doesn't matter to him. As long as he doesn't kill, he's the good guy. So he's pretty arrogant and thinks pretty highly of himself, one of his major character flaws. But where did this tech come from? Well, most would assume that, oh, well, he's rich and he has a company, right? Well, not exactly. While there is a company tied to his name, that being Crimson Inc., or Crimson Incorporated, he doesn't actually own it. His father does, and due to him and his father having had troubles, his father disowned him and threw him out. So Joshua doesn't actually possess any large amount of money, which is why he steals from gangs, but he does mainly get his gear from Crimson Inc. anyway. But if he doesn't own it, how does he get it? Well, he's bribing a small research and development team at the company to smuggle him things from the stock or make stuff for him. But with time, Joshua learned to make some of the repairs and some of the expendable equipment himself, such as repairing his armor or making new throwing knives. And then he only actually needed to get the resources and materials for these things. Alright, now I just want to dive a bit into his design choices of his gear, why it looks the way it does, and so on and so forth, like what the functionality of it is. Some people have noticed his horned helmet and not really gone further than, I guess it's taken from Batman, which is understandable. Batman is pretty known for having horns or ears. But to Joshua, they serve as window breakers and also contain and protect antennas, thermometers, and other types of equipment like that. Joshua's main inspiration for these is a falcon native to Europica named the Red Horned Falcon. His symbol is also an abstract interpretation of this very falcon. Another note about his suit is the darker something is, the tougher it is, but also stiffer. So his stomach isn't very protected for flexibility reasons, while his head and arms are fairly well protected. You might have also noticed that he has wings on his suit, which is what he uses to glide with. Alright, but why is he doing this? What made him go put on carbon fiber armor and beat up thugs and hunt down assassins and the likes? What's his motivation for doing this? So we've already established that it isn't because of his parents, as both of them are still alive. He's doing this because of someone else being killed. So let's rewind and find out what got him started. So at one point Joshua had a girlfriend, but one day she's kidnapped because a gang thought Joshua was rich due to his father being the owner of Crimson. But since Joshua doesn't have any money, he tries to call the police, but they kept saying they'll look into it when they have the time. So he saw no other way than taking the law into his own hands and go save her himself. He knew he'd need some equipment, so he got the basics like a bulletproof vest, pepper spray and a baton. He wasn't very good at fighting, but he had been going to boxing for a few months, so he knew a little. So he went out on the streets, interrogating gang members and people who might know something or someone tied to her kidnapping. Eventually, he discovered where they were holding her, but when he snuck in he was caught and the gang leader learned Joshua didn't have any money. He killed Joshua's girlfriend in rage. The gang leader got away from the scene, and so did Joshua. Joshua kept going on as a vigilante in hopes of finding the man responsible. One day while searching, he found a man only known as Blue Blade. He's fast, strong, intelligent, and just what Joshua needs. So Joshua begs Blue Blade to teach him about fighting, and he eventually agrees. But whether Joshua ever found the man who killed his girlfriend is actually unknown. Only one person knows, and that's Joshua. Joshua isn't very open about himself or his past. The people he trusts is constantly betraying him like his parents did. He thought they would love him, because why wouldn't they? But his father was immensely disappointed and actually threw him out, so he couldn't trust him. He hadn't put his trust in the police, but that turned out to be a disappointment as well. So he doesn't really trust a lot of people, and therefore he hasn't actually shared much about himself to other people. They only know minimal things about himself. But let's dive into someone else. Really, the only two other people Joshua trusts. So most of the things Joshua can do is something he learned from Blue Blade. In the game we'll also see him and he'll teach us a trick called Punish. Not much is known about Blue Blade, he's very secretive, much like Joshua actually. In all the time Joshua has known him, he hasn't seen his face, he doesn't know his name, and he doesn't know anything about his past. He only knows what everyone else does. He's fast, strong, and carries a sword. Blue Blade was also the one to give Joshua the performance-enhancing drugs, but where he got them from is also a mystery. Besides Blue Blade and himself, Joshua only really trusts in one other person, James Indigo, aka Purple Shadow. James is also a vigilante like Joshua, although he's very different. James can be a bit squeamish sometimes, and isn't always ideal for crime scene investigations. But he's a good and strong fighter, and believes everyone is good at their hearts, while Joshua thinks of the world a lot more black and white compared to James. So yeah, that's basically gonna do it for this video. Hope to see you in the next one. If you liked it, you can like it, and if you hated it, you can dislike it. If you think any of your friends will be interested, you can share it with them, and yeah. So see you next time.